Thank you to everyone for attending tonight's meeting of the San Bruno Community Foundation Board of Directors. We are in person at the San Bruno Senior Center and we welcome members of the public who are attending via Zoom. We appreciate your patience if we have any technical hiccups. We ask speakers to speak loudly and clearly so that the microphones can pick you up and that our online guests as well as everyone in the room can hear you. A couple of technical items before we get to the content of tonight's meeting. Please know that we want to hear from you. Members of the public who are here at the Senior Center in person, if you would like to speak during public comment for items within the jurisdiction of the board that are not on the agenda or on any of our agendized items, please feel free to fill out one of the speaker cards that is on the table near the door. If you are attending on Zoom and you would like to address the board during public comment for items not on the agenda or on any of the agendized items, please use the raise your hand button at the bottom of the Zoom screen. Once you raise your hand, the executive director will see that someone wants to speak and she will let me know that you are waiting. When it is your turn to speak, the executive director will call your name and unmute you. If you're joining us via telephone, you may also address the board during public comment by pressing *9, and the executive director will address you and will unmute you. Speakers will be given 3 minutes to address the board. Please note that individuals may only speak once per agenda item. Have we received any public comment before this meeting? We received them all. Okay. Note that prior to the meeting, we received one email from the public related to item 8C, Investment Committee Report on the agenda. All board members have received a copy and the copies have been made available to the public. Let's begin the meeting. I now call the regular meeting of the San Bruno Community Foundation's Board of Directors of June 5th, 2024 to order. This meeting with the presentation of the 2024 Crestmore Scholars is one of the absolute highlights of the year for the foundation and something I've been looking forward to for months. The 10 students we honor today represent the promise of the future and we can't wait to celebrate them. I will turn it over to Secretary Gomez for our call roll.
Thank you, President Natani Jones. Board Member Belinda Wong.
Here.
Board Member Irving Torres. Here. Board Member Supriya Perry.
Here.
Treasurer Pac Lin.
Here.
Secretary Raul Gomez here. Vice President Jim Ruang.
Here.
President Melissa Natani Jones.
Here.
All accounted for.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 3, public comment. Would any members of the public like to address the board on a topic that is within the jurisdiction of the board but is not on the agenda? For those on Zoom, please indicate so by using the raise hand button at the bottom of the Zoom screen.
I do not see it.
Okay, great. Item number 4, presentation, the recognition of the 2024 Crestmore Neighborhood Memorial Scholarship recipients. The recognition of our Crestmore scholars is always one of the highlights of the year. We are proud to support such a diverse and outstanding group of San Bruno students who have shown their dedication to serving our community and making San Bruno the welcoming and caring place that it is. The recognition of outstanding young adults in our community has profound meaning to our board. In one way or another, each of us is or has been engaged professionally or personally in endeavors that supports the welfare of our youth. In other words, these annual scholarships award evenings provide a very bright moment for our board service together. We want to thank board members Belinda Wong, who had the pleasure of attending as the foundation's representative, award ceremonies at Cappuccino High School and Skyline College, where our scholars were recognized. Before introducing the scholars, I wish to acknowledge the foundation's executive director, Leslie Hadamia, and program manager, Jessica Carrillo, for their leadership in foundation's annual scholarship awards process. On behalf of the board, I also want to acknowledge the impressive volunteerism of the committee who deliberated the extensive thought and time with 66 applications to review to arrive at the selection of the scholars we are honoring this evening. We are pleased to welcome several important guests to our awards presentation this evening. San Bruno Mayor Rico Medina will be joining us this evening, will be a little bit later. Vice Mayor Michael Salazar, City Council members Tom Hamilton and Martin Medina, thank you so much for being here. I also would like to acknowledge Randy Trujillo, staff of the Supervisor Dave Pine, Capuchino High School Principal Jose Gomez. We're pleased to welcome back some of our previous scholarship recipients, Madeline Villanueva Tovar, and others. And so for those of you who are new to the foundation's proceedings, the San Bruno City Council established the San Bruno Community Foundation and appointed the board of directors in 2013 to manage the 70 million in restitution funds from PG&E resulting from a devastating 2010 gas pipeline explosion in the Crestmore neighborhood. One of the board's first major funding decisions was to create the Crestmore Neighborhood Memorial Scholarship Program to honor San Bruno community members who most directly endured the tragedy, especially the 8 San Bruno residents who lost their lives. The Crestmore Memorial Scholarship Program ensures that the events of September 9, 2010 are not forgotten and that the resiliency, teamwork, leadership, and commitment to community displayed throughout San Bruno in the aftermath of the explosion and fire are honored in each of the annual recipients of the Foundation Scholarship, who themselves have, at a young age, volunteered in service to others, and a number of whom have faced significant life challenges themselves. This year, we are thrilled to have the support of Mary Lou and Alan Johnson, who made a generous donation to the Crestmore Scholarship Program this year. Mary Lou and Alan can't be with us tonight because they are traveling internationally, but we want them to know that we appreciate their support. To the scholars, on behalf of the Board of Directors of the San Bruno Community Foundation, I wish to express not only admiration for your success traversing the challenges of high school and community college, but for your maturity in recognizing the importance of being positive contributors to society. It is our hope that you will never lose sight of how critical it is to the future of your college and the community where you ultimately reside. That you being engaged in making positive contributions to the welfare of others, just as you have been engaged or involved in the San Bruno community. In addition to all that has already been recognized, I'd like to also acknowledge the fortitude and resilience of this group. Each of you having achieved all that you have is remarkable. Our graduating high school seniors began high school in the middle of a global pandemic, attending school remotely, and you have all spent much of your high school and community college years dealing with challenges related to the pandemic, and at a particularly tumultuous time in our history, both nationally and internationally. Each one of you shines as a brilliant beacon of hope and in trying time, and we intend to follow your lead as you continue your paths. We look forward to keeping the board updated on your new accomplishments. We are honored and pleased to help support your academic and personal growth. This is a proud moment for you and your families, the foundation, and the city of San Bruno and your schools. Before we commence with the presentations, we'd like to invite Randy Trujillo, representing the San Mateo County Supervisor David Pine, to say a few words. All Crestmore scholars will be receiving commendations from the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors, thanks to Supervisor Pine. Randy?
Good evening, board members, staff, and scholars. It's always a pleasure to come here on behalf of Supervisor Pine to congratulate the scholarship recipients. I've had the pleasure of doing this for many years now, and no matter what's happening in the county, no matter what challenges or difficulties we are facing, this is always a really great reminder of the amazing and talented and diverse group of residents we have in this county. And you know, this group really represents San Bruno and San Mateo County in the best possible way. So I wanted to just, on behalf of Supervisor Pine and the entire San Mateo County Board of Supervisors, congratulate you all on being another amazing group receiving these scholarships, and congratulate the foundation on continuing to find amazing residents and scholars to highlight and to show the best of our county. Thank you.
And now the presentation of scholarships. Vice President Wayne, if you will please move to the podium, I will introduce the class of 2024 Tressmore Memorial Scholarship recipients. Scholars, as your name is announced, please approach the podium to receive your scholarship award. I will introduce each scholar individually. When your name is called, please come to the podium next to Vice President Wayne, who will present you with your certificates and have you take a photo. Then please return to your seat. I want to mention that in addition,
Can you, after you've gone up, stand along the side, so we've got you all there? Okay.
awesome, thank you. I want to mention that in addition to the scholarship certificate, each Crestmore scholar will receive a commendation from the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors, as mentioned earlier, as well as a letter from Congressman Kevin Mullen. Audience, thank you for holding your applause until the scholars have been introduced. Drum roll, please. Okay. Our first 6 scholars are recent high school graduates, all from Cappuccino High School. They will attend 4-year colleges or universities, and each will receive a $20,000 scholarship, $5,000 a year for 4 years. The first scholar is Justin Chan. Captivated by technology from a young age, Justin will study computer engineering at UC San Diego. At Cappuccino High School, where he is a scholar in the International Baccalaureate Diploma Program, Justin has served as president of the Coding Club and mentored other students interested in artificial intelligence and programming. Motivated by a desire to minimize school lunch waste, he became president of the Environmental Club, educating classmates on recycling and composting and leading community cleanup efforts. Justin also played on the badminton team and led the Chinese Culture Club. Congratulations. Our next scholar is Sina Gomez. Sinia Gomez. Is a leader committed to a life of service. As student body president and a member of the school site council at Cappuccino High School, Zinnia has spoken out against hate speech, gun violence, and sexual harassment, and helped to foster a safe, supportive, and creative place for student learning. To motivate young girls to pursue STEM interests, she founded the Sage X Club at Parkside Intermediate School and served as a magnesium tutor. I hope I said that right. She was captain of the track and field team specializing in shot put and discus. This fall, Zania will begin her undergraduate studies in astrophysics at UC Berkeley. Congratulations. Our next scholar is Emilio Ramirez. Family members battles with cancers, which inspired Emilio's dreams of becoming a neurosurgeon and providing care to families in need. A scholar in the International Baccalaureate Diploma Program at Cappuccino High School, Emilio has served as co-president of the Leos Club, vice president of the Environmental Club, volunteer for the San Bruno Perry Drive, and member of the Interact, Samosa, and Women's Advocacy Clubs. He also played on the high school baseball team all 4 years. Emilio plans to study biology at San Francisco State University. Our next scholar, Serena Robinson. Serena is a Cappuccino High School scholar in the International Baccalaureate Diploma Program and a dedicated member of the San Bruno community. As president of the math club and a peer tutor, Serena loves helping other students. She co-founded the Samosa Club in an effort to educate others about Desi culture. And as a Black belt, Serena supports other youth as a karate instructor. Serena is also an entrepreneur, providing administrative support to one Etsy shop and launching her own sticker business. Serena plans to study electrical engineering and computer science at UC Berkeley. Congratulations. Our next scholar is Jesselyn Rodriguez. Jesselyn is determined to become a doctor and utilizing her Spanish-speaking skills, provide compassionate medical care to understand communities. In pursuit of that goal, Jesselyn volunteers in the emergency department at Mills Peninsula Medical Center, participated in Kaiser Permanente Summer Career Pathways Program, interned with cardiothoracic surgeons at Stanford, and is the International Baccalaureate Diploma Program at Cappuccino High School. Jesselyn has also been active in the Latino Unidos, Folklorico, and Interact clubs. Jesselyn will begin her studies at UC Berkeley this fall. Our next scholar is Kaylee Shun. A self-described people person, Kaylee loves giving back to her community. She particularly enjoys nurturing and engaging with children, which she has done as a swim instructor, lifeguard, and junior giants coach. An international baccalaureate diploma student at the Cappuccino High School, Kaylee has served as president of the Environmental Club, vice president of the Leos Club, and is captain of both the tennis and badminton teams. Kaylee is passionate about addressing the causes and impacts of climate change, and she plans to major in cognitive science at UCLA. These are our high school scholarship recipients. Our next group of scholars are receiving $10,000 scholarships, $5,000 a year for 2 years to advance from community college to a 4-year college. Selena Bunkayo, having grown up in an underserved community in the Philippines, Selena understands the importance of political empowerment. As a political science major at Skyline College, she founded the Politics and Civic Engagement Club, served as a student senator, tutored other students in reading and writing, and has been a leader of the Honors Club. Selena has also worked at an elementary school after-school program, volunteered on a local county supervisorial campaign, and interned at a voter outreach nonprofit. This fall, Selena will transfer to UC Berkeley with the goal of becoming an immigration attorney. Our next scholar is Camille Carlos. As a woman in STEM, Camille is a trailblazer dedicated to helping women and students of color achieve their potential in the sciences. At Skyline College, Camille has been a leader of the Women in Science, Engineering, Represent, and Scratch programming, and computer science clubs, served as peer tutor at Skyline STEM Center, led a Scratch programming workshop at the Expanding Your Horizons Conference for Teen Girls, and volunteered with Girls Who Code. Transferring to UC Santa Cruz, Camille plans to major in computer science and explore uses of artificial intelligence in healthcare and environmental sciences. Our next scholar is Eden Hui. Eden is passionate about data science and exploring how data-driven technology can provide innovative solutions to benefit local communities. As the math major at Skyline College, Eden founded the Data Science Club and has been active in the Computer Science and Engineering and Robotics clubs. He participated in the 2023 Winter Research Scholars Internship Program, returning the following year as a mentor for other participants. Eden has also regularly volunteered at the weekly Second Harvest food distribution on the Skyline campus. Eden will transfer to UC Berkeley as a data science major this fall. Our next scholar is That Yoon Ja. That's journey from a childhood spent in refugee camps on the Myanmar-Thailand border at Skyline College, where he studied public health, to UC Berkeley, where he will enroll this fall, fuels his drive for public service that aspires to become a position serving underrepresented communities in refugee camps and war-torn areas. At Skyline, Ted founded the Myanmar Students Union, served as a peer instruction leader at the STEM Center, tutored ESOL, students in writing and English courses, and promoted mental health services awareness as a health ambassador. Members of the board and public, I'm delighted to present the 2024 class of Cresmore Memorial Scholars. Congratulations. We'd like to now ask two of the 2024 scholars to say a few words. Zania will speak on behalf of the high school scholars, followed by Camille, who will speak on behalf of the Skyline students advancing to four-year colleges. Zania?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Senia Gomez Iniguez, a Capuchino High School graduate. I'm also a grateful Cresmore Memorial Scholarship recipient. I'm sure all of us are grateful for this scholarship because although we are offered financial aid, college is still left inaccessible to many of us. I've been fortunate enough to be able to say that this scholarship is what's helping me graduate debt-free. Before I knew I was awarded the scholarship, I had a conversation with my mom. She talked about how she couldn't afford to contribute as much as she was planning to. The conclusion was that I needed to apply to as many scholarships as possible to help make up the difference. Eventually, I received a very large envelope at my door, and I was excited to find out that I had been awarded the Cresmore Scholarship. Now, I can cover what my mom couldn't. I'm also more confident about owning a house in my 20s, like the people she does housekeeping for. She always tells me about them as motivation, and it worked. I can use this scholarship to forward something that I truly value, my education. And I can focus on my rigorous coursework as a STEM major rather than finding a job and making money. Now, with this freedom, I plan to pursue my master's or even my PhD and eventually become a scientist. If I hadn't connected with my community, I would have never had the opportunities that I have now. For example, a teacher recommended me for a speech contest. Being connected to my career center at school helped me go to Ghana for free. And ultimately, being connected helped me achieve this scholarship. I've learned that you can't be afraid of putting yourself out there. Taking risks is the most important thing that you could do, aside from helping your community. And if anyone in the audience has family members or loved ones that are going into college soon, I urge you to make sure that your loved ones know to not feel ashamed to accept any aid offered to you. That's what it's there for. There isn't anything wrong with needing help, and you can't be scared to reach out. Thank you.
Good afternoon, esteemed board members, fellow scholarship recipients, friends, and family. My name is Camille Cadolos, and it's an honor to be here as one of the scholarship awardees, as well as to stand alongside these other remarkable students who have exemplified leadership within and beyond their school. While each of us have a unique story, our shared tenacity in our dreams is only matched by our commitment in community service. Whether serving in student government, clubs, founding our own organizations, or volunteering at our local food banks, schools, and shelters, we have all dedicated ourselves to uplifting our community even as we strive for our own goals and balance life's challenges. I think I can speak on behalf of my fellow community college students here today that second chances exist and opportunity is everywhere. The supportive environment of community college has enabled us to pursue our dreams and redefine ourselves. A little bit about me. I'm the daughter of 2 Filipino immigrants. Although my parents are one of the most inspirational pillars in my life, they struggled to guide me in my academics and career as they were busy working and learning how to navigate their new life in America. I went through my primary and secondary education mimicking my fellow classmates' activities with little genuine passion. I was just simply going through the motions. My lack of ambition was due to my limited perspective. I came to Skyline College seeking direction. I started off in their middle college program, which for those that do not know, it's a program that allows high school students to take college classes part-time. And then I eventually transitioned into being a full-time student. Over these past few years, I have discovered my passion for computer science and research, as well as had the privilege to serve as a role model through my work as a peer tutor and as a mentor to young girls in my community. However, just as I finished my transfer applications and dreamt about my future plans, my family and I faced unexpected financial challenges. I decided to resign from my on-campus jobs to focus on my academics. Simultaneously, my father was laid off. These financial hurdles left my family and I uncertain about whether I could afford to attend university in the upcoming fall. Amidst that uncertainty, I urgently sought out guidance from my mentors, one of whom provided a list of scholarships, including the Crestmore Scholarship. Though doubting my chances, I applied. Weeks later, the news of the award arrived, alleviating months of immense stress weighing upon me. The Crestmore Scholarship, alongside other financial aid support, will help me continue and focus full-time on my studies at UC Santa Cruz. I will be able to achieve my own dreams of working in the computer science field, as well as bettering the future of my family and community. As I was writing this, I am still in awe of the opportunity. Just months ago, I grappled with uncertainty, questioning if I could attend university or would need to take a gap year to support my family and accumulate savings. However, I shouldn't have been shocked because throughout my time at Skyline, my community has always supported me. These scholarships not only serve as a testament to our resilience, reinforcing that barriers can be overcome to attain our aspiration. They also remind us that we are never alone in our journey. Our community will always support us and uplift us every step of the way. Thank you once again to the San Bruno Community Foundation for this incredible honor and for investing in our dreams of students like us. I am sure that we will come back to our community and pay forward to your kindness and support that we have received. Thank you.
Thank you, Ninya and Camille. It is my pleasure now to welcome back Madeline Villanueva Tovar from our second class of Crestmore Scholars in 2017. As I am sure she will share with us, Madeline's story is one of resilience, flexibility, and perseverance. After graduating from Cappuccino High School, Madeline enrolled at Holy Names University in the East Bay. But her path to where she is today, a graduate of San Francisco State University and an emergency medical technician, has been a circuitous as it has been rewarding. Rooted in her commitment to serving the community and an outgrowth of her experience as an 11-year-old when the gas pipeline explosion devastated our Crestmore neighborhood in 2010. Madeline truly exemplifies what we at the foundation intended to celebrate with the Crestmore Scholarship. Madeline, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We hope that you can share your amazing story and offer a few words of wisdom to our new scholars.
Good evening. First and foremost, I would like to thank the San Bruno Crestmore Scholarship Foundation for this opportunity to stand here before you today to share my story and give a few words of wisdom. I graduated from Capuchino High School in 2017, excited to attend 4-year university, Holy Names University in Oakland. I had so many goals and dreams, but things didn't turn out that way. I gained a lot of weight that led to a lot of health issues, self-doubt that consumed me, and I went through a lot of family problems. I left Holy Names after my sophomore year ended, only to continue school at the community college, and then boom, COVID hit. I fell behind in school, and in 2021, I did not graduate on time. At that time, I was working at In-N-Out Burger in Milgram, still with big dreams, but I felt like a failure. I went to phlebotomy school and shortly after EMT school, all while working on transferring my credits to San Francisco State University. I finally had a good paying, honorable job. I was happy, but I still wanted to pursue my higher education, my degree, my bachelor's, so I kept going. I stayed up late after long 12-hour shifts. I did my homework during downtime on the ambulance. I didn't have much fun and I sacrificed a lot. I stayed very focused, but I kept going. About 2 weeks ago, on Friday, May 24th, after almost 7 years, I finally graduated with a Bachelor's of Arts in Psychology from San Francisco State University. The takeaways: number one, our plans may not happen, but keep going. Number two, a good friend of mine once told me and really drilled it into me, remember your why. Remember why you started, because when things get hard, your why keeps you going and helps you stay disciplined. My why was many things, but one of them was my love for my people and my community. Being a recipient of the San Bruno Crestmore Scholarship is a huge honor, and I carry that wherever I go. I tell the whole world, I'm from San Bruno. San Bruno is my home. I remember being 11 years old. It was a nice fall afternoon. It was quiet, and suddenly chaos. The sound of emergency sirens everywhere. So much uncertainty and fear. Black smoke consumed the sky, and it was rumors of a plane crash. A big fire, but none of us knew why or how. I was glued to the TV watching the news with my parents, my grandma, and my neighbors. The next day, my family bought cases of water and brought them to Bay Hill Shopping Center. I saw people crying, hugging. I saw love. I saw community. I saw my home. I told myself when I grow up, I'm going to serve, protect, and love my home. Those sirens, they live in my head, and I became that siren. I wanted to be brave, so I worked really, really hard, and now I work side by side with the same firefighters, the legends that fought that gas line explosion, such as Captain Sean Ruby and paramedic firefighter Dennis Malloy of the San Bruno Fire Department. San Bruno always cheered me on. San Bruno gave me an opportunity to be great. And with my bachelor's degree, I plan to change the world. I plan to love, lead, and inspire. My name is Madeline Raquel Villanueva Tovar. I am a first-generation Latina college graduate, emergency medical technician for AMR San Mateo County 911, emergency department technician for Kaiser Santa Clara Hospital. I am a shy little girl with big dreams that grew up at 532 Mastic Avenue in San Bruno. My words of wisdom to you is to never give up, believe in yourself, and remember your why. Remember your home, San Bruno. Congratulations on this new journey that all of you have begun. It's fun, it's exciting, but it's also a lot of hard work, dedication, and focus. Again, thank you all for the privilege of being here today. Congratulations to the class of 2024. And remember, when you see your girl flying by with the lights and sirens, wave. I promise I'll wave back. Remember to pull to the right. Thank you.
San Bruno Mayor Rico Medina has arrived, rushing from another meeting down in the peninsula. He didn't want to miss this opportunity to address the Crestmore scholars. Mayor Medina, thank you so much for being here and joining us, and we'd love to hear from you now.
Good evening, and oddly enough, I was at AMR. So that's why I was up here, because we just connected in the back, and I said, you know, I just came from the office, for one of my board meetings. First and foremost, as I walked in here, I saw Nancy Kraus, formerly on the board, worked at Cappuccino. Nancy was at Cap when I was at Cappuccino, and I was just at graduation last Friday. So congratulations again to the class of 2024. And what it reminded me of is it takes you back in time, but it also listening to all the accolades, to all of the things that you've already done in your time. I started to think, where have I been? And what was I doing in high school back then and afterward? What you have done and what you have told us is a reassurance that the future is bright. But as bad as it seems at times when we turn the TV and the news on, this is the hope, this is the future, and I have faith in it. It also is important to know, unfortunately, as was just said about what happened back then. One of those things that the council back then was, again, trying to do something for this community that had something positive out of it, that made sure that those that lost their lives and are scarred forever, that there are others that will carry on their dream, carry on the ball, and make a difference in this world. And I have complete confidence in each and every one of you. Based on what I just heard tonight and what I've read, you will do it. You can do it, and you shall do it. And I would say that these scholarships are a part of what that council then fought for. So there were monies that built the building that's down the street that provides these scholarships and these grants. It is to let you know that it gives the opportunity, great, that your comments, it gives that opportunity that some thought they may not have. So I would say embrace it, celebrate it. You've earned it, you deserved it. There were a lot of good applicants, and you have been selected to represent this community, to represent this scholarship, which has deep meaning in this community and with me and those that were there then and are here now. So the bottom of my heart, on behalf of the city of San Bruno, congratulations, good luck, and remember, we're always here for you. This is San Bruno, and you are always here and in our hearts. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mayor Medina. Now I'd like to give members of the board the opportunity to address the Crestmore scholars. Would any board member wish to comment?
This is a real special evening, and especially for this board. With the $70 million of restitution funds, we're building a beautiful recreation aquatic center for the city. We give out $300,000 a year in community grants for local nonprofits. All of those things pretty much stay in our community. But this is special because the scholarship money we're granting you is going to be used in different places, different schools, different communities, all over the country. So unlike the Recreation Aquatic Center or the community grants, which service our local community, this is an opportunity for us to actually send San Bruno's story out. And it's dear to my heart. I've said 13 and a half years ago, and I say it every day, something good had to come out of what we experienced. And you're a big part of that good. So congratulations.
Other board members? Well, I'd like to say congratulations. Job well done, and we look forward to continuing to see your growth in your academic career as well as your local and community career. One thing that I always love to tell young people is be a good ancestor today. And I think that this is the first step to do it. So congratulations. Members of the public? Is there anyone who'd like to say a few words in regards to this item? Anything online? There's no more final comments from the board at this time. We'll take a brief pause before continuing on with the meeting so that those of you who need to leave may do so. Scholars, please take one of the plans from the reception table. They are for you and your family. Again, congratulations and thank you for being here. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. We will resume our regular meeting. We are on item number 5, approval of minutes, and I'll turn it over to Secretary Johnson.
In your meeting packet tonight are minutes from our March 6th, 2024 regular special board meeting. Are there any comments from the minutes in your packet?
Okay,
I'll turn it back to President Melissa Natani Jones.
thank you. If there are no questions or comments from the, are there any questions or comments from the public for this item? Okay, may I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Item number 6, we'll move on to the executive director's report. I apologize, that's okay. I'll turn it over to Secretary Gomez for roll.
Thank you, President Natani Jones. Board Member Belinda Wong.
Aye.
Board Member Irving Torres. Aye. Board Member Supriya Perry.
Aye.
Treasurer Pat Glenn.
Aye.
Secretary Raul Gomez is aye. Vice President Jim Roy.
Aye.
President Melissa Natani Jones.
Aye.
All ayes.
Thank you. Now, to item number 6, executive director's report. I will turn it over to Leslie.
Thank you. It's been another busy couple of months since our last meeting. We've been busy with the selection of the Crestmore Scholars, preparation for tonight's presentation and reception, and preparation for the launch of the Community Grants Fund, which will launch this summer on a regular cycle, as well as preparing our fiscal year 24-25 budget, which you will review tonight. The meeting packet contains my written report with information on our insurance renewals, our next engagement with our auditor, and our website and e-newsletter, social media traffic. In the interest of time, I won't repeat all of the details, but I'm happy to respond to any questions you may have. The one topic I just did want to mention briefly is just a quick update on our strategic planning process. As you know, the board's process is on pause right now as we wait for further information from the city of San Bruno, as well as the San Bruno Park School District about their plans for revenue measures on the November ballot, as well as their plans regarding various capital projects. We will continue to monitor progress on that front, and the activities by the city and the school district. We will likely restart our strategic planning process at some point in the next fiscal year, towards the end of the calendar year, once both entities have some visibility on their revenue measures as well as their capital projects.
Thank you, Leslie. Are there any questions from the board? Okay. Any questions or comments from the public on this particular item? online?
No.
Okay, that concludes the executive director's report. Thank you so much, Leslie. Item number 7, consent calendar. Adopt resolution approving appointments to the investment committee. Receive and approve treasurer's report. We have 2 items on the consent calendar, which I just stated as listed on the agenda. Would any members of the public like to comment on the consent item?
Don't see any online.
No. Fine, okay. Unless there are questions or comments from the board, I call for a motion to adopt the consent calendar.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, and I'll turn it over to Secretary Gomez for roll call.
Thank you, President Natale Johnson. Excuse me. Board Member Belinda Wong.
Aye.
Board Member Irving Torres. Aye. Board Member Supriya Perry.
Aye.
Treasurer Pat Lynn.
Aye.
Secretary Raul Gomez is aye. Vice President Jim Ruane.
Aye.
And President Melissa Natani Jones.
Aye.
All ayes again.
Thank you. Item number 8, conduct of business. Receive report of the San Bruno Recreation and Aquatic Center from the city of San Bruno and adopt resolution creating and appointing members to the ad hoc committee on recreation and aquatic center startup activities. As chair of the ad hoc committee and recreation and aquatic center project, I will give a brief report from the committee. Vice President Ruane and I sit on the city's RAC Advisory Committee, which has regularly met to receive updates from the city on the project. As you know, the foundation is supporting the new San Bruno Recreation and Aquatic Center with 8 grants totaling $51.5 million to the city of San Bruno. As of May 31st, 2024, the foundation has paid out a total of $49,254,840 in RAC grant payments and has a balance of up to $2,245,159 left to disperse. As explained in the written staff report for this item late last week, the foundation and the city executed amendments to the grant agreements for the RAC grants number 4. City compliance review, I apologize, I have a cough drop. Number 5, temporary facilities, and number 8, construction. For all 3, the amendments extended and the end of the grant period from March 31st, 2024 to December 31st, 2024 to accommodate the current construction timeline. The amendment for the construction grant also acknowledges that the grant agreement for the RAC number 7 on Lara Field parking lot improvements has been terminated pursuant to its terms and adds the remaining balance of the grant, $89,720, to the construction portion of the grant amount for number 8. This is consistent with our original agreement with the city that any remaining balances in the other grants would eventually be folded into the construction grant to ensure that the city received the full $50 million of the foundation's original commitment to the project. We expect to issue the next set of grant payments on all 3 grants very soon. Based on the preliminary grant report submitted in April, the payments will likely be about $53,000 for RAC grant number 4, $12,500 for RAC grant number 5, and just under $1.6 million for RAC grant number 8, $90,000 for the construction and $1.5 million for contingency, for a total just over $1.6 million. At this point, the remaining balances will be about $334,000 for number 4, $256,000 for number 5, and $0 for number 7, and $0 for number 8. As anyone who has driven by City Park recently has noticed, the construction of the RAC is nearly completion. Board members had the opportunity to tour the site last week, and I think I speak for all of us when I say that we are all so excited about the facility and the recreational opportunities it will provide our community very soon. Tonight, City Manager Alex McIntyre and Community Services Director Travis Carlin are here to give us an update on the completion of construction of the RAC and the city's timeline for opening the facility and looking forward an overview of the expected programming and business plan for the facility. They will also make a new request for startup funding for the facility to ensure that it starts off on solid financial footing. And after the presentation, the board will consider a resolution creating and appointing members to a new ad hoc committee on recreation and aquatic center startup activities to review the city's request and make a recommendation to the full board. Under the resolution, I would chair the committee and Vice President Jim Ruane and Board Member Belinda Wong will serve as committee members. If the board adopts the resolution creating this committee, such action would not commit the foundation to support additional funding. If the committee were to eventually propose one or more strategic grants, the board would need to take a separate action to consider such proposals. Welcome, Alex and Travis, and I will turn the time over to you.
Thank you, President Natania Jones. I hope for those of you who were able to join us last week for the tour, you enjoyed being there and saw a lot of things there with the facility. We still have a little ways to go, but I'm confident that it's coming near completion. So I am joined here tonight with, from our city manager, Alex McIntyre, also Mayor Rico Medina, and we have, I see that we have Council Member Hamilton and Council Member Medina in the audience, as well as one of our Parks and Recreation Commissioners. That's great. I got a little cheerleading squad here. We are here to present a funding request to support the operational ramp up of our new Recreation and Aquatic Center. The center's realization would not have been possible without the foundation's generous contributions thus far. This request aims to further our partnership, ensuring that the significant investment is success from day one. In tonight's presentation, I will provide an overview of the items for construction completion and outline the subsequent steps necessary to open the facility. I will also present an overview of the budget, detailing expectations for operations, and discuss the adjustments the city is making to the implementation plan concerning membership and usage fees. Additionally, I will outline our intended marketing strategy and introduce several programs that we will evaluate the feasibility of to ensure accessibility and make sure that the facility is attractive to both residents and visitors. Finally, I will conclude with a discussion on our grant funding request and reaffirm our ongoing commitment to the foundation. Currently, construction is focused on completion of the interior work within the facility, while outdoor site improvements and landscape continue. Last reported, the team is on track with the budget and contingency. However, this is continuously being reviewed as we manage any facility concerns moving toward completion. The city anticipates receiving our temporary certificate of operation, or TCO, later this month after the testing of life-saving safety systems and the elevator is complete. The TCO will allow city staff to move into the facility and begin preparations, including the setup of furniture and fitness equipment. This month, we will be anticipating accepting membership and facility rental applications. Staff are diligently working to integrate fees, membership types, and the recurring billing into our recreation software to ensure a smooth transition and rollout. We expect to host our first rentals toward the end of July or the beginning of August. During the soft opening period, the facility will be open to the public for limited daily hours, and the facility is expected to be open the full 7 days per week. These abbreviated hours will enable full-time staff to be present most of the time, ensuring continuity of operations at the facility. We are also in the process of hiring the last of our part-time and our full-time positions. We feel as though we have a good handle on the part-time staffing. However, site training will need to continue on the site. During the soft opening period, all areas of the building except the outdoor swimming pool will be operational. However, the outdoor pool may become available later in the soft opening period. Staff will introduce programming, manage rentals and league play, and oversee membership signups and daily facility use during this time. The soft opening will also serve as a period to test procedures and make necessary adjustments. Staff are also planning the grand opening and dedication event. On the day of the dedication, we plan to offer family activities, possibility for food trucks, entertainment, a dedication ceremony, ribbon cutting, and facility tours. And we welcome any ideas that the foundation members may have. Following the dedication and grand opening, the facility will commence regular operating hours. The city's finance department has established the RAC within a dedicated special revenues fund to effectively monitor the facility's performance. This initiative will allow us to identify any revenue deficiencies and accurately assess both direct and indirect costs of the facility, which will provide crucial operations information for a down the road fee analysis beyond the introductory rates. Additionally, this special fund will facilitate the tracking of expenditures related to the facility's operations and any associated special programs. The city's expenditures for the fiscal year 2024-25 are based on a full year of operations and are estimated to be approximately $4.3 million. This estimate includes most startup costs with the exception of the majority of the furniture and fixtures and equipment. The $4.3 million figure includes personnel costs, contracts, services, equipment, and materials necessary for the programs, rentals, and operations of the center. Please note that other than janitorial services, maintenance of the facility and equipment is included in the facilities budget under Public Works. Additionally, there are warranties on much of the equipment in the initial period of operations. Similarly, the revenue projections for 24-25 are approximately $2 million, also based on a full year of operations. Revenue is expected to increase monthly as the memberships, programs, rentals, and other uses of the facility expand. During this growth period, we will be optimizing schedules to offer programs at most favorable times, expanding the popular offerings, balancing programming with facility rentals and leagues, and exploring partnerships to maximize utilization. City staff possess a comprehensive understanding of operating such a facility. However, we anticipate needing to make adjustments specific to San Bruno as we learn more about the community's expectations. So what's to be expected as far as operations? During the soft opening, we anticipate operating the facility for approximately 79 hours per week. At least one pool will be operational during this period. Staff levels will include approximately 20 to 30 full-time and part-time employees during the standard 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. workday. During peak times, typically evening and weekends, we will have around 12 to 20 staff members on duty to support the facility. We expect our regular school year operations to be similar to the soft opening with the addition of increased pool availability on the weekends. Our weekly operating hours will increase to approximately 92 hours under our current model. Summer operations will necessitate additional staffing and the optimization of pool usage during the peak times based on the community's needs. Comprehensive implementation plan was formulated prior to my joining the city, which is based on information outlined in the business plan. This business plan delineated the structure of the facility through an a la carte approach, segmenting the membership or paid areas into distinct categories. The fitness center and track membership, punch passes for the gym and aquatics areas, and daily passes. During our assessment and what you likely saw when you were out on your tour is we do have an access point for the membership areas of the facility. And because of this facility's access points, it became evident that the model, the a la carte model, would necessitate a significantly larger staff to ensure that individuals are accessing only the areas that they've purchased passes for. Consequently, we proposed a shift in strategy and presented a revised fee structure to the city council, aiming to optimize facility membership. The new model will include a 14+ facility membership encompassing access to the fitness center, track, gymnasium, and pool. We'll also offer a facility punch pass for youth ages 13 and under, providing access to all areas with the exceptions and limitations in the fitness area. Facility punch pass options for seniors will also be available, offering a more cost-effective alternative to the monthly membership for the senior age group. And then last but not least, we also will offer a daily pass option for all visitors. One crucial aspect of inaugurating the center will be to involve marketing efforts. Our staff is diligently working on integrating all pertinent information onto the city's website, aiming to have all the pages updated by the end of June. Complementing these internal marketing endeavors, our department will also be collaborating with an external marketing agency. Together, we will be focused on direct mailers and membership events to entice individuals to visit and explore the facility through guided tours. Moreover, we will plan to produce promotional videos showcasing the facility and its programs to generate enthusiasm amongst the target audience. The marketing team will be tasked with developing a comprehensive brochure highlighting the membership benefits and the facility rentals. In the lead up to the grand opening, our efforts will be extended to possible radio advertisements, and potentially securing a limited presence on billboards. During our soft opening phase, it is imperative that we engage with program and experimentation aimed at making utilization of the facility key. These initiatives will be rolled out during this trial phase to stimulate usage of the facility. We will access the feasibility of these programs, execute the target marketing strategies, and conduct public surveys to ascertain preferences in concert with our first year of operations. The following ideas are examples of programs that staff can examine for feasibility with the new center. These were ideas that our staff brainstormed over a few weeks. We could possibly subsidize lessons for qualifying residents, complemented by the city's existing scholarship program. We could also possibly waive initiation or administrative fees during membership drives, which is a strategy that I've used in other facilities, and it is a proven success that it brings people in. Utilizing funds to boost participation in exclusive RAC programs, thereby broadening access to a wider demographic. We could implement transportation services, including shuttle service to and from the senior center to facilitate access for diverse populations. We could also incorporate fitness classes into the introductory memberships through grant funding, thereby evaluating market interest for enhanced membership tiers over time. We could host exclusive RAC events for members, such as fitness sampler days, flick and floats in the pool, and possibly family dinners and a movie in our community room. Offering special rates on programs or rentals for qualifying members to expand our membership base and increase participation is oftentimes a good strategy. Providing member child watch services and subsidizing them for residents, catering to parents who require childcare during their workout sessions. And developing youth and teen programs focused on values education, decision-making skills, leadership opportunities, and mentoring, with potential ties to the California Police Activities Lead for community building and youth empowerment initiatives. And a lot of times when we have these leadership programs, those are our key players that come up through the ranks and become our staff at the facility. As previously discussed, there will be an initial phase during which the staff and the community will collaboratively explore effective strategies for San Bruno. Some initiatives will be tested, and it is anticipated that certain endeavors may not yield the desired results. In these instances, we will take those opportunities to transition toward a more successful program at the facility. It is worth noting that much of the rate structure and implementation plan was developed prior to the current staff that will be managing the facility and facility programs. The introductory rates for 2024-25 will be subject to assessment alongside miscellaneous benefits, primarily over this 3-year period. This evaluation aims to refine and optimize the business model for the facility. At the onset of the presentation, it was highlighted the foundation has generously supported the establishment of this state-of-the-art facility to enhance the lives of our residents. It is my belief that the board shares a collective desire for the facility to achieve maximum success. Hence, I am requesting that the foundation board consider providing $2.25 million over a 3-year period to support the facility during its initial growth phase. Specifically, this request entails $1 million in the first year, $750,000 in the second year, and $500,000 in the third year. This funding primarily aims to facilitate operational ramp up by supporting programs that attract residents and visitors to the facility, enhancing overall marketing and promotional efforts, aiding in operational expansion, and improving accessibility for diverse community populations. The city's commitment to the community and to the foundation during this initial period involves several key aspects. Number one is to implementation of programs aimed at promoting and enhancing facility use, a provision of funding to address operational deficiencies while experimenting with various strategies to optimize space utilization within the facility, conducting a comprehensive assessment of fees to ensure competitiveness, support operational needs, and streamline processes to bridge the gap between revenues and expenditures, effective marketing of the facility and exploration of partnerships with the community partners and external organizations, especially during off-peak periods. And finally, a commitment to provide a semi-annual progress report to the foundation throughout the grant funding period. Before I take questions, I just wanted to reach out to my colleagues and see if they had anything that they would like to add before I take questions.
Thank you, Travis, and I do want to do a quick introduction. Nick Figueroa is here as well, the city's chief financial officer. I think Travis was worried about missing him. So anyway, I want to thank you all for this continued interest in the RAC. As you know, I've been with the city a little over a year, and this has been an ongoing challenge. I think Melissa asked me when we took her on the tour, Alex, aren't you excited? I said, my excitement's kind of mixed. I want this project done, and I want it open. And I know my council wants it done and open, and the community wants it done and open. But what's really critical is this is a business enterprise. And this, and I'm gonna be direct, is not our core competency. That's why I hired Travis, and that's why Nick is here, because I got a really star talent who's going to ramp this thing up. But we're gonna go through this, he said the experimental phase. We're gonna try certain things and they're gonna work, and we're gonna try certain things and they're gonna fail. But we don't know which is gonna be which, and so we need to make sure on day one when it opens, that it is successful, it is clean, it presents brilliantly, and that it, I think what the board members saw, and board member Perry, I certainly want to invite you to a tour if you have a chance to come and take it, because I think the board was genuinely impressed with what they saw, and every day we're making progress. So I think for me, this is one of those things where I thought, on behalf of the community, that I think this board has an interest in this project being successful, both in its development and in its operations. Now, we're going into the operational phase now, and, you know, the $4+ million that we're gonna spend in operating the facility, and the revenues are gonna be certainly not be that. We're gonna have it, each year, we're gonna have an operating deficit, and that is planned, that is programmed, that is expected. But that deficit has to be the deficit we're projecting. As that deficit grows, that's where we're gonna struggle. So I wanna keep the hours the same. I wanna keep the commitment for it being clean. I want the programs to be just top-notch programs, and I want the leadership to continue in place. So our appeal to you is genuine. Our appeal to you is something that I think we share a common interest in making sure this thing is successful. So I wanna thank you, and I don't know if anyone else wants to offer words. Otherwise, we're here for answers, questions and answers. Thank you.
Figured while I'm here, why not speak twice? I think Travis and Alex said it exceptionally well. I can tell you that the council, we had a tour a couple weeks ago, and what I understand from what you saw, a lot has occurred. What we can say is that we see the light. We see it opening. And I can remember back when this was the last facility for recreational activities and purposes, and that was in 1987. Remember working at that recreation center as a rec leader and then as a full-time employee. Travis and I had something in common because when we worked for recreation departments, we both taught cooking classes. For me, mine was basic summer. But looking at the kitchen that we have there today, from the household kitchen, that's what that facility had. And all the amenities. When I walked through, I was thinking back to the time of how that recreation center was utilized and designed. And to walk into this is just an excitement, a realization that something has come out of this that is positive for this community, for its future, long beyond my time. And so this ask that staff had talked to us about is to ensure that when it's done and completed, and it's open, and our public comes in, that it's done right. We all know in life, we're told, you have one opportunity to make that impression, to show the success and how proud this community will come together and utilize and occupy that facility. So I would also ask, on behalf of the community, that you consider this proposal from the staff, and I think they've outlined it, and it's just for the essentials to ensure its success. And I think we all can agree, once we cut the ribbon, we want to see success, and it shall be. And I want to thank you for your continued support, your enthusiasm, and your participation in this endeavor. Thank you.
Are there any questions from the board, comments?
Thank you for the tour. It was amazing. It's nice to be able to put the first few footprints in there. I do have a question just for clarification. In terms of the grant funding you're asking, is it contingency or is it like if you, because it sounds like it's in case that if things are not going as planned, you can use this fund, and if you don't need it, are you planning on using it to expand the program more? Like, what is your plan?
Sure. So it's a little bit of a lot of things. So we do want to try programs that are going to really get people to come through the doors, right? So things like Child Watch, when you have them in a facility, you have moms that are going to, and dads that are going to come in during the day when they have their little ones at home, and they can bring them in. So they're already taking out a membership, and we can use some of this funding to subsidize those types of programs to get them in through the door. That's a way to get people in to utilize the facility, which increases our revenue over time. And if we can subsidize that a little bit, that makes a difference as well for parents. The other thing too, that's very common in the private sector, but it doesn't get done very often in the public sector, is to include fitness classes in your membership. So this gives us an opportunity to say, hey, could we do some basic membership, or could we do some basic fitness classes that we could include in the membership, and then give it a period of time to kind of see how that's received by the community. And if so, could we eventually like maybe adjust the membership to be like a more enhanced membership for the facility? So those are just two examples of things that we can enhance with this type of funding to get people to come to the center, right? And then there's other opportunities too, like utilizing some of the funding to see if we can do transportation services for different populations to get them to the center. Are there certain partnerships that we can help bridge the gap with with this funding to get them in the door to use the facility? So it's a lot of that type of work. Obviously too, we're doing an RFP right now for janitorial services. And we're really trying to do janitorial services for the entire facility with a combination of our facilities team, our staffing, and then also a janitorial contract. And we're just getting in those proposals now that we're reviewing for the janitorial. The janitorial, we're trying to keep minimally and trying to do a lot of that with the in-house staff. But over time, we have to kind of figure out what's the sweet spot. How much do we have to increase janitorial? And I'm kind of thinking that over time, we may find out we have to increase the amount of time that we have our janitorial contracted folks come in to help clean the building, because it is a gigantic building to keep clean. So it's just trying to figure out all those different nuances of the operations and continuing to expand where we need to. And but then also the trial and error programs, right? I've worked in facilities or cities where we have gangbusters on a program, but then you move to the next city and you're like, it worked in the last city, so I'm gonna do it here. And then you try it and nobody comes. So it's being able to do those trial and error things and having a little bit more of a, I would say maybe a parachute to try to be a little bit more bold with what those offerings and trying those different things are.
I think my follow-up question to that is how often are we looking, or is this more of a committee question, I'm not sure, is to understand the details of how often we're going to want to rejigger those programs and make sure that the dollars are balanced appropriately between a sustainable operational budget when the grant goes away versus when monies that should be used for these startup and new experimentations with the grant.
Right. So typically the industry standard for recreational programs that you're trying for the first time is usually you try to take them through 2 session cycles. So you want to get it out for that first session. Sometimes you'll have programs that are gangbusters and you're busting at the seams. And then you have other times where you try a program and you only get 2 or 3 people. And then you kind of look at, why are we only getting 2 or 3 people? Are we marketing it correctly? Does it have the right description? Is it attracting? Is it the instructor that we have for the program? So that gives us just the opportunity to make those adjustments through that first session and survey the parents to find out. And if you have, there have been times when you have programs that are 4, 5, 6 kids, and it's not a great success the first time, but because of the experience that the 4, 5, or 6 kids have, they go out and tell 4, 5, or 6 families, and the next session, you have a lot more people in the program. The other thing that we have to be very open to is prorating programs. So, we have a great program. It starts on day 1. We only have 4 kids in the class. Trying to get those families to go out and promote, having them join the class and saying, okay, well, now there's only 4 sessions left. Is there an opportunity to prorate and keep bringing those kids in for those different programs? So it just gives it, so that's kind of the industry standard of how you do that.
In terms of, just so I understand the sort of marketing strategy, I wasn't sure whether there has been some work with an agency to consider in those initial 60 days, what the factors are, because as you said, that this opening, the anticipation of it, the excitement that it will generate in that, first 2 to 3 months, like optimizing that and incentivizing families who are eager to join in early. I'm just wondering if that has kind of been part of the input into considering what the initial fee structure is. Because I just wasn't sure whether this marketing and membership was happening.
Right. So the initial fee structure was really structured before I got on board. It was done through the business plan. We worked a little bit on tweaking it a little bit during our budget process. The marketing part of it right now is we did come to a realization that we do have some marketing dollars left in this year's budget. So we're working right now to onboard a marketing agency to help us out with all those key things with the marketing of the facility. Our intent is to hopefully use some of this funding that we're requesting to continue that marketing, at least until we get a foundation for our market and branding of the facility. So, getting things like templates for all of our things to make sure that we have the correct brand, the same branding every single time we go, something goes out, it's always got the same type of look and feel. Helping us with our marketing brochures for membership. Videos are a big thing right now. So helping us with creation of videos that we can put out online on our website, possibly doing some radio spots, and billboard ads if we need to.
And I guess, yeah, because I know, for our family, if you join something with a great degree of excitement and 4 months later, your fees suddenly go up or the structure, changes, and understanding that this is a process over years, but also wanting to make sure the community members, understand that there is some level of sort of certainty into what they kind of engage with and continue to engage with, I guess.
Right. So you're asking more about how the fees will evolve over time, I think, right? That's kind of part of your question?
I think just, and I understand that what you said about, this is an evolving process, so I want to be very appreciative of that. But just that, if the consideration for the marketing kind of occurs after the first 3 months, it would seem that having it occur preliminarily to some degree to provide the community with incentives that really encourage that burst of people, wishing to participate and maybe whatever it is, bring your next door neighbor and come along in that first 3 months, because this is the place to be.
Right.
So.
And Board Member Perry, we did build in a couple of things into our fee schedule when we brought these fees back that give me a little bit of that latitude to do those incentive times of the year, like waiving initiation costs, things like that. So
That's great to hear. Thank you.
So I have a couple questions. One is, you mentioned about the warranty of the materials. How long is the warranty on that?
it varies. So it varies, and then it also, it's it varies, and then also the definition of what that warranty is varies. So our fitness equipment does have a warranty on it, of 1 year, and then it does have additional warranty on certain parts of the equipment, but it varies throughout the facility. And then obviously there's warranties on the equipment, like the pool equipment and things throughout the facility as well. I don't have that information off the top of my head.
Got it, no worries. The other question is, I see on the slide that programs for at-risk youth linked to PAL programs, and you also talked about subsidies. Are there any other types of subsidies that potentially this, RAC is gonna be offering to the community?
So these are all ideas for programs that we have to really look at the feasibility of. And, if we did want to subsidize these to really entice people, working with our finance team to say, hey, if we have grant funding for it, where does this fit in? And how much can we subsidize it based on what our model is? So that's something that I would work with the CFO very closely on to make sure that we're monitoring. And one of the things that I really want to work with him closely on is to really show what the impacts of that are. Like, how many people are taking advantage of that? Because I want to be able to come back to this board and say, hey, this grant funding really helped us, and we were able to serve all these folks in these different capacities.
So is that something that potentially could be considered next time, like when we come to this board, present that?
Right, that's my intention, is at those semi-annual updates that I would bring back those types of statistics to you.
Got it. And then my last question is regarding programs that promote access. You mentioned transportation. What other types of programs?
Sure. So what I mean by access is it's not necessarily access for people who have a special need. It's access for special populations. So people who maybe don't drive, senior citizens getting maybe a shuttle from the senior center. And again, these are things that we would look at the feasibility of. The other thing is just accessibility for, maybe low-income families. Are there programs beyond our scholarship program that we could offer? Subsidizing childcare sometimes in the facility while parents are working out will, on top of their membership, subsidizing that a bit for San Bruno residents is helpful for those parents who don't have sitters at home to be able to use the facility. So those types of subsidies was what we're looking at.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
Just a comment to say, the RAC looks amazing. The tour that we took, I was blown away again by every room that I visited. The facility is exceeding my expectations. So great job to the whole entire team that has put this together thus far. Really looking forward to this autumn.
The turning point for me was when there's water in the pool.
Thanks.
To the chair, I guess my only comment is that if there is a potential request for the grant funding, to also consider some potential funding for subsidized, because I really would hope that all members of residents and community members of San Bruno take advantage of this beautiful facility. I mean, I got the tour, it's really amazing. So any opportunity that we can also provide that in terms of consideration.
I'll just echo what some of my colleagues have already said. I really enjoyed the tour. I think the building is beautiful, and I know that there's a lot of angst when you're opening a brand new facility. But I'm pretty confident that the city of San Bruno is ready for that thing to open. And I just want to acknowledge that it's not easy, and really appreciate the effort that the city is putting in to ensure that programs are smooth and there is accessibility for all of the residents to be able to utilize the building, because I think that was what we wanted, is that it was accessible for everyone. So I just want to thank you all for that. Are there any questions or comments from the public?
David Nigel, I've been a resident since 1959. Many of you know me. I just was appointed recently to the Park Commission, May 1970. So I've had 55 years on the commission. And because of that opportunity, I've been able to, at the state level, travel throughout the state. And I can tell you, we're gonna have a jewel of a facility. It's gonna be fantastic. I wanna thank you and your predecessors for your financial support and your interest. And we have a rich history here in San Bruno. When I first moved here with my parents, the Philadelphia Warriors moved here and became the San Francisco Warriors, now Golden State Warriors. And they practiced in our gym. I met Wilt Chamberlain, Al Adams, all the original ones. And then I taught at Allen School, and they asked me to work in the rec department, and I started a basketball league. I played in an adult softball league, and I played in the basketball leagues. And during my time on the commission, we had a commissioner named Teresa Cook. She was a fanatic with swimming. She wanted a new pool, and she's probably looking down from heaven right now and saying, I got 2 pools. So that's fantastic. I want to thank you, and I want to thank the staff. Very good. I've worked with staff, so I know them personally. You're lucky. You have top-notch people. Thank you very much.
Any other comments from the public? Any online?
Not online.
Unless there are no further comments from the board, may I call for a motion to adopt the resolution creating and appointing members to the ad hoc committee on recreation and aquatic center startup activities?
Second.
I'll turn it over to Secretary Gomez for roll call.
Thank you, President Diane Jones. Board Member Belinda Long.
Aye.
Board Member Irving Torres. Aye. Board Member Cyprian Perry.
Aye.
Treasurer Pat Glenn.
Aye.
Secretary Raul Gomez is an aye. Vice President Jim Rowan.
Aye.
And President Melissa Natanya Jones.
Aye.
All ayes.
Thank you. Now moving on to item B, receive report on other programs, community grants fund and other strategic grants. I'll turn it over to Executive Director Leslie.
Thank you. I just want to give you an update. Thank you all for coming. I want to give you an update on our other programs, in addition to the RAC, which of course is our biggest, and most significant, investment. On the community grant fund, we are preparing to launch for the 9th cycle, believe it or not, of our community grant fund program. That will launch at the beginning of July. We are not making any major changes to the program, so it'll run as it's been running. The online application will be available starting in July. We will have some workshops in August and September with a September 18th deadline, application deadline. The review process then will be from late September into November, and the recommendations of our review panel will come before the board at our November meeting. We do have a community partner who will be donating $100,000, and that is factored into the budget. And we'll be making a public announcement of that in the near future. In terms of the Centennial Plaza Improvement Project, most of the board attended the city's ceremonial groundbreaking ceremony on Friday, April 19th. So thank you for attending that. Since then, construction on the project has been proceeding on schedule, and the city expects construction of the new plaza in the downtown area to be completed this fall. The city submitted its latest quarterly grant report for this grant at the end of April, and the foundation made a grant payment of $3,900, maybe $39,000. I'm not sure if I have a typo here. Thus far, the foundation has paid out grant payments totaling nearly $123,000. And so there's a balance of $377,000 of the original $500,000 grant still remaining to be paid out, hopefully by the end of this year. In terms of our downtown beautification initiative, as you know, the board approved a grant of $350,000 for this project. The city and foundation recently executed the grant agreement. The project is part of the city capital improvement plans. The city council will formally consider approval in June. In the meantime, the city is working on developing the scope of work for the different project components. Once the city awards the bids, it will take about 5 months to complete construction. So they're hoping to have all beautification projects done by the end of the year. Hopefully that will coincide with the improvements being done at Centennial Plaza as well as at Posey Park, which is another city project happening right now downtown. And their goal is to have, in all the downtown beautification projects and Centennial Plaza done by the, Christmas tree lighting in early December. So that's the goal they're shooting for. Note that this grant is structured a little differently from our RAC grants, which are, the city reports quarterly and we make quarterly interim payments. This time, the city will make one report at the end of the grant project, and then we will pay out for actual expenses incurred. So it could be under the $350,000, if they don't use up the full amount. Also just wanted to report on the ad hoc committee on San Bruno Park School District strategic initiatives. As you know, the board created this advisory committee in November. Superintendent Matt Duffy recently notified me about a need to make immediate improvements to the athletic fields at John Muir and Bel Air Elementary Schools, as well as at Parkside. With the impending closure of the soccer fields at the former Crestmore High School site, the local youth soccer organizations are depending on use of the school district, the elementary school district sites, starting in the fall and definitely by the end of the year. The district's highest priority are field improvements at John Muir. That field is so filled with gopher holes and other issues that make it dangerous for its kids that they don't even let the students who go to the school use the field. So they have a desperate need to get those fields in shape, both for the students at the school as well as for community use, sports use. The second priority will be the field, the grass field in between the two baseball fields near Bel Air Elementary School. That will be their next priority, and then the fields at Parkside will be the final priority. The projected cost for improvements at each of the two elementary schools is about $57,000 per school, with field improvements at Parkside being about double that based on the size of the fields. The school district is in the process of developing a strategic grant proposal for the field improvements, which our ad hoc committee will review and discuss at a meeting hopefully later this week. If the committee decides to make a recommendation to the board, it will come before the board in the coming months for consideration. That is my report on our other programs.
Any questions from the board? Any questions or comments from the public?
Online or online?
Okay, great. Thank you for the report. We will move on to, unless there are any further comments from the board, this concludes the report and other programs. Thank you, Leslie. We'll move on to item C, receive report from Investment Committee on its May 15, 2024 regular meeting. Treasurer Lynn is the chair of the committee and will provide the report.
Thank you, President. I just blanked out. President Melissa Jones, sorry. The investment committee did meet on May 15th at our regularly quarterly meeting. There were 4 business items on the agenda. The first was the report from Sandhill Global Advisors regarding the firm's investment outlook and the foundation's investment portfolio performance. Sandhill Co-Chief Investment Officer Mark Sarah noted that the economy has continued to exhibit strength as unemployment has remained low. Corporate earnings growth is projected to normalize. Inflation is approaching the Federal Reserve's target, and the manufacturing industry is returning to normal after several years of pandemic distortions. There are belief that there were going to be cuts in the interest rates several times in 2024, and that the economy is looking like that it has a soft landing in terms of inflation. So as of March of 31st, so basically the quarter end of 2024, the foundation's 3 investment accounts total $32 million. As of this week, the balance is 31.8 million, because of almost a quarter of $1 million transfer from the liquidity account to the Wells Fargo account. And that is to pay the regular bills as well as the scholarship payments. We are expecting that the liquidity balance to continue to decrease as we pay off the RAC grant. And that is that in part of it. The second item that the investment committee discussed was the cash flow for the RAC, and that was discussed already. And then the third item was related to the foundation's quasi-endowment payment payout rate, which will be discussed in the next item. Or is it gonna be this? Okay, so I will skip that part, but it was discussed. And the committee did pass the resolution recommending the payout of 1.62% for the quasi-endowment payout. Then finally, we looked at we had an annual review of the foundation's investment policy statement, and it's really just a routine review from every year. It is kind of a best practice in terms of investment. There was no change at this time as we are waiting for post-RAC to really look at it with the strategic planning and any next initiatives, our decision of the next initiative. And there is a highlight that we do want to make, and that there were 2 community members that came to the investment committee meeting, which was great because we rarely get the public. And some of the things that they brought on to the table was for us to consider as we're moving on to when we are ready to discuss it in terms of investment on value-based or social responsibility investment strategies, and what other feedback we may want from the public in terms of our investments. That there is public comment that was already sent to us regarding this. And in light of this, Executive Director and I have asked the Sand Hill team to come and give us a kind of a presentation in the September meeting to talk about what social responsibility, value-based investment may look like, as well as them giving us our annual presentation on the investment outlook. And with that, I am happy to entertain any questions or comments.
Any questions from the board? I just have one clarification. September is usually the annual reporting from Sand Hill, correct?
Yeah, so for the request is for them to give us additional education based on the comments from the committee.
Great.
Beyond what their annual report.
So they'll add that portion around. Okay, great. That's all I have. Any other questions from the board? Okay. Any questions or comments from public?
We did receive, we do have 3 members of the public that would like to speak on this item. So Sasan, and then Wesong, and then Matt. Hold on just a second, I gotta get the timer going.
Hello, good evening, board members, good evening, staff, executive director. My name is Dosen. I'm a longtime resident of District 1. I would like to begin by first thanking the investment committee for being open to the community's interest and reevaluating the foundation's investment policy statement. Your initiative in requesting the presentation from the team at Sand Hill demonstrates your commitment to valuing community input, so it's very much appreciated. It's my understanding that it is at the board's discretion to implement specific restrictions on how the assets of the foundation are invested. We have directly specified restrictions PG&E, and I think it's important to consider other opportunities for adapting our policy to ensure that our funds are invested in the well-being of our community and the planet. I am particularly interested in understanding how we can ensure our investment strategy considers and prioritizes human rights, ensuring we are avoiding investments in companies and funds that consistently and knowingly profit from and enable violations of human rights, violations in international law, exploitation of labor, fossil fuels, and matters that are of this nature. I would appreciate your consideration in directing Sandhill's team to address and expand on these during their presentation that you've scheduled in September. So our resources should not be invested in companies and funds that do harm to our community. I believe that by aligning our investment policy with these values, it signifies our commitment to the well-being of our community, both locally and beyond, and our environment in general. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Wissam and I live in District 3, right up the street. I just want to echo almost everything that Salsan said, but I'll just be very brief in regards to the investment policy. But before I begin, I just really want to thank you all for taking the time and the initiative to oversee the community funds. And I want to thank you for requesting a value-based investment review from Sandhill. I think that's very critical, and that's also a reflection on who we are as a community. In echoing what Selson said, I mean, my question, this is almost like an ask, would it be possible to include that our funds are invested in environmental friendly and clean energy instead of possible fossil fuels? Knowing that we live in San Bruno and the airport's right above us, I think it'd be a good idea that we are a bit more considerate about our environmental health. And in addition, to ensure that the funds won't be invested in companies that could potentially violate human rights laws. I believe, as I mentioned earlier, values-based is a reflection of our community. And I want to thank you again for taking action to review the funds on social responsible and value-based investments. Thank you so much.
Hello, members of the board. My name is Matt Jones. I grew up in San Bruno, went to public schools here, and I just moved back about 6 months ago. This is my first time speaking in front of the board. I'm here with my colleagues and here to thank you, Ms. Hatamia and Ms. Lynn, for asking your financial advisor, Sandhill, to make a presentation for the upcoming investment committee and board meetings in August and September, respectively. We community members that have been tracking the investment policy applaud the decision to ask Sandhill to look into a values-based and socially responsible investing strategy. We also ask that the foundation considers asking Sandhill to include human rights and climate in their analysis as well in that presentation. Community members, we were at the last 2 investment committee meetings, and we're pleased that you're open to revisiting your investment policy, which hasn't been revised to our knowledge since its original adoption. We think it's an important time, especially with the RAC undergoing completion, to kind of reevaluate, and there's an opportunity here. It's important to remember why we're here, because of what happened to the community on September 9th, 2010. The community suffered tremendous loss from the pipeline explosion. I personally know people who perished in the resulting fire, including 3 members of my family's church and high school classmates as well. And then fast forward to the wake of the nationwide protests of the Dakota Access Pipeline project, I began looking into personally redirecting my funds when I found out that my bank, Wells Fargo, was funding pipeline construction, and they were also funding weapons manufacturing. And weapons manufacturing is personal to me because I nearly avoided a mass shooting at my college back in 2014, and I know people who perished in that as well. 2 tragedies is too many for any person, and fortunately, there's so many people in this world that are suffering right now. I had no idea that my money was not aligned with my values of human rights and climate, so I moved it to 2 banks where it's now value aligned and I'm making more money at the same time. So I just look at what we saw tonight with the prevention, with the creation of the RAC and with the scholarship funds. These expenditures are aligned with the city's values and community's priorities. So thank you for taking this next step at reassessing your investment policy to ensure it's values-based, centers human rights and climate. Let's ensure that our finances also reflect our values as a community. Thank you.
Are there any comments or discussion from the board? Okay. So I just want to thank our members of the community who we rarely get people speak, so I get really excited when stuff like that. I have a public comment. So thank you. Unless there's any further comments from the board, that concludes the investment committee report. Thank you, Treasurer Lynn and Leslie for the work on that. Moving to item number D. Adopt resolution approving fiscal year 2024-2025 budget, setting the quasi-endowment payout rate for fiscal 24-25. C, approving transfer from the strategic pool investment account to the liquidity account for fiscal year 24-25, and D, directing the executive director to submit the fiscal year 24-25 budget to the San Bruno City Council for consideration and approval. I'll turn it back over to you, Leslie, for your presentation.
Okay, thank you. Okay. This is my annual report to the board about our upcoming fiscal year budget. And before I give a detailed account of the FY 24-25 budget, I think it's important to think big picture and to review the overall financial health of the organization. This chart provides a complete picture of the foundation's overall financial history and health. It includes both the investment portfolio that is managed by Sandhill, as well as other funds, which includes both, we received some funding before we brought on Sandhill, as well as we have received some donations that have come through our operating budget, but never actually got transferred to Sandhill because we use those directly. So remember that the original grant from PG&E was $68.75 million in cash and 5 vacant property lots then valued at $1.25 million. So that's how we got the 70 million number. The city sold 3 of those lots for nearly $1.25 million. So they actually only sold 3 of the 5 that got the same value. And then the city converted the 2 remaining lots into what is now the Earl of Glenview Park that has been redone and reopened in the Crestmore neighborhood. Total initial assets included the $69.8 million that was transferred to our Fidelity accounts in 2016 when we first took possession of the bulk of the funds. Also included $700,000 in cash the city had given to us prior to that to be able to pay our bills for the first couple of years. Just to note also that these are rounded figures, obviously, in this chart. The investment gains are the investment income on the portfolio managed by Sandhill. The donations and other income are other income and donations that have come through that has not touched the Sandhill portfolio. Even without actively fundraising, we have accumulated about 1.9 million over the past 9-10 years I've been here. And we're expecting, as we mentioned before, another 100,000 from the community partner for our community grants fund. Total funds dispersed or committed through April of this year, about $60.3 million. Total expenses, are 63.2 million, as of April 30th, 2024, with liabilities of 2.9 million, leaving net distributed amount of 60.3 million. Grants and scholarships hit our books as expenses when we make that commitment, and the grant agreements are executed, and the scholarship recipients sign paperwork saying they are accepting the scholarship. But many are paid out over multiple years, so there's not always a complete alignment in timing. And then we have liabilities basically because we have to pay out in future years those commitments. In sum, the financial health of the organization remains strong. The foundation has benefited from a robust stock market over the past 8 years, despite some market volatility in the last few years, as well as inflation. We benefited from prudent financial management by our team at Sandhill, and solid financial management practices through our fiscal planning procedures that we have instituted here at the foundation. So when you're looking at our budget for FY 24-25, keep that bigger picture in mind. It's also instructed to review the budget in the context of the board's strategic planning deliberations. At this time last year, we had anticipated the construction of the RAC would have been completed by now, and all grant payments on the RAC project to have been fully dispersed. As we know, the project has taken a little longer than expected, which I guess is typical of these types of construction projects. And we are now looking forward to those being paid out in the next, hopefully, 6 to 8 months. We did expect, because we expected the grant RAC to be completed by now, for the board to be farther along in its strategic planning process than we currently are. As I mentioned before, we've been on pause as we wait for the city and the school district to make some decisions about their own projects, which we may or may not want to invest in. And as a result, our strategic planning process has been delayed. As a result, this year's budget, we thought might reflect some changes, based on, evolving program and investment strategies. We haven't gotten to that point yet. So this budget is constructed very similarly to the last few years of budgets. And it's just following that, regular course. The anticipation is that, as we've seen, the RAC is truly close to being done, and we're gonna be done paying out those payments in the next few months, which means we will be able to move forward with our strategic planning process. The board will be making some decisions in the next fiscal year. So we anticipate the FY 25-26 budget really the one that will reflect those changes and potentially be different than the structure of the budget that you see today. Just want to also remind people that our budget is not a typical nonprofit budget where the goal is for expenses to equal revenues. Most nonprofit budgets are more income driven because they can only spend what they're able to raise. We have been very fortunate to have received the restitution funds. And so and not so much worry about funds coming in driving our budget. So our budget has not been income driven so much as expense driven and driven by the priorities of the board and the foundation and what we want to invest in our community. Our budgeted income consists primarily of transfers from our assets, from the quasi endowment and the strategic pool to our operating budget to cover cash needs during the fiscal year. Along with a small cohort of donations or other income that we do receive during the year. We don't seek, and we typically do not achieve a balanced budget in the true sense, as our cash needs don't necessarily match up with our recorded expenses in a given year. And this is primarily because, as I mentioned before, a lot of our grant and scholarship commitments They are shown as expenses at the time we make the commitment and the paperwork is all filed. But they're paid out over multiple years, so our cash needs, get spread out over multiple years. So do not be worried that our budget expenses for the year slightly exceed the funds available for operations. The calculations for both numbers are completely separate and are not meant to be equal. So we're gonna start first with expenses. So we have three categories of expenses. Couple things I want to note. Our personnel expenses are slightly higher than this past year, mainly because both of our staff members did receive cost of living increases. And we have budgeted for our program manager to be able to give her the cost of living increase in the next year as well. Our non-personnel support costs are expected to be higher next year, but actually less than our budgeted amounts for the current year, mainly due to a combination of both budgeting based on contract ceilings. So we do have some contracts that we budget the full amount, although we don't often pay out, use up the full amount. And also we have some new expenses that drive increased expense lines. Budgeted amounts operate as ceilings, and I'm very cost conscious as we spend money and on all purchasing decisions. So actual costs frequently turn out to be much lower than our budget projections. Please note that in the current fiscal year, actual non-personnel support costs are projected to be about $52,000 or about 26–27% lower than the budgeted amounts. So we usually do come in under budget. The staff memo did include some areas where we did have some increases in budget line this year. About a $3,000 increase for marketing and communication. Printing costs the last couple of years have gone up significantly for our annual report. So we have allowed for a similar type of increase this year, as well as increases in our office supplies and equipment, about $2,300, I'm sorry, increase there. My laptop is actually now about 5 years old. Typical life of a laptop is 3 to 4 years. It's working okay now, but there may be a need to replace that this coming year. There's about a $10,000 increase in legal fees. Combination of, again, we want ample cushion to make sure if some legal issue comes up, we have budgeted accordingly. Also, I anticipate that as we look at some of the investment and program strategy decisions that the board may or may not want to make in our strategic planning process, that may require consultation with legal counsel that we don't typically do. We do have also budgeted about a $4,800 increase in accounting and payroll fees, in part because we budget our accounting contractor at his contract ceiling. Usually he comes in under, as well as a slight increase in fees for our auditor, which has already been approved by the board. There's about a $21,000 increase in other consultants to provide flexibility if there is a desire or need to engage with DEI consultants, as well as other consultants related to the strategic planning process. We wanted to allow some flexibility for that. If we don't use that, that line will come out lower. There's also about an increase of about $9,400 in our travel meetings and conferences line, and it's basically reflecting a potential change to our meeting venue to the RAC. We do pay some of the costs of using this facility, but they're much lower than what they would be at the RAC, which will be a much nicer, newer facility where the city is, as you heard earlier, they're having to budget and schedule fees to be able to pay for the building. So if we do decide to move there, we will have increased meeting fees. We also have budgeted for 12 meetings for the year. We typically end up canceling a number of board meetings, which then would decrease that line, but we've got a budget in case we do. Just want to also note that our insurance costs actually are budgeted to go down this year. by about $1,300. We were able to switch carriers for our directors and officers liability policy, which allowed for an actual decrease in that budget line. Not gonna go through every line item in the budget, which you have in your packets, that I'm happy to answer at the end any questions you may have. In terms of program expenses, I want to elaborate a little bit more. As you can see, we have our normal $300,000 allocation to community grants, which we have been doing for the past 8 years at that level. For the Crestmore Scholarship, for the last couple of years, we've been giving out awards at the $160,000 level. I'm actually suggesting or recommending an increase of $5,000 based on both the applicant pool and what that's looked like, as well as sort of seeing the deliberations of the selection panel for the last couple of years. The panel had the difficult dilemma of deciding whether to award no scholarships in the high school to community college category in favor of an additional scholarship in the community college to four-year college category. That applicant pool has been significantly more plentiful and stronger than the high school to community college application pool, which is why the last 2 years the committee has awarded the scholarships as it has. This modest increase of $5,000 would allow us to award the same number of scholarships as we did this year, plus one high school to community college scholarship, which I think would be great to be able to give out more in that category. And that distribution of scholarships would reflect, I think, better reflect the applicant pool that's been coming in the different categories in recent years. So that's a slight increase. For strategic grants, we budgeted that at 2.5 million. It's a placeholder for potential strategic grants that the board may approve in the coming year. It would allow the board to consider the city's request that you heard today for 2.25 million. It would allow the board to also consider some smaller strategic grants, such as the school athletic field proposal that is going before our ad hoc committee. There may be a community day this year as well, hopefully in 2025. The Norita Sister City Exchange program, we've expressed an interest in potentially supporting that. And both the city and school district have indicated a potential desire to come forward with some requests in that area as well. So the 2.5, again, is a placeholder that will allow us to consider all of those. But the board would have to take separate action to officially award any of those grants. So this is just really the budget outlines that you'll be approving today. Again, we see this coming year as sort of a reset year, and that really in the 24, 25, 26 fiscal year is when our new program strategy, if the board were to adopt one, would take effect. Other grants is the $10,000 we traditionally budget for out of cycle community grant type proposals that we do get on occasion. We don't always use that line, but we do allow for that. So that is a breakdown of our program expenses that we get. On our income side, we typically budget operating income to be very low. We currently don't expect any donations next year. Those usually come up as the year progresses. It may change in the coming year as it did this year, and it has in past years. Miscellaneous income is usually unexpected, and it's usually when a grantee returns a grant. Sometimes when they don't use the full amount and they return part of it, that if it happens in the next fiscal year, it shows up as miscellaneous income because there's no grant expense to count it against, because it happened in a previous year. This year, there was $30,000 in miscellaneous income because the city ended up canceling Community Day. That event did not happen. We had already expensed the grant in the previous fiscal year, and then it got canceled when this current fiscal year, so it shows up as miscellaneous income. It's really an accounting issue device more than it is cash moving back and forth. This year, the county consultants and I decided to zero out interest income. This line has always been really difficult to predict, and it's always been relatively small and just, minuscule in the grand scheme of things, regardless. All of our Wells Fargo, accounts now are non-interest bearing. We don't have a savings account anymore, so we don't get any interest income from that. The liquidity account balance, is likely to be substantially lower next year because most of the RAC payments, will be paid out, actually the bulk of it before the end of this fiscal year, and there's only gonna be a little bit left, in the coming fiscal year. So we expect the liquidity pool, balance to be much lower, this year than in past years. We also noted that our, auditors treat income from the liquidity pool as investment income rather than interest income in the operating budget. So this change is consistent with the treatment that they give the liquidity pool income. Again, that number has always been historically low, so the fact that it's zero actually doesn't make much difference in this budget. Most of our quote income are transfers from investments. And remember again that most of our funds are available for operations are based on our cash needs for the year. We assume that all personnel expenses and non-personnel support costs will be paid out during the fiscal year. But we don't necessarily assume that all of our program disbursements, all of our program expenses will be paid out in that single year. Many times they're paid out over multiple years. The quasi-endowment transfers based on our cash needs for the Crestmore Scholarship and the Community Grants Fund. When the quasi-endowment was created, the idea was that the quasi-endowment would be used to pay out cash needs for those two programs, Crestmore Scholarship and Community Grants. There are some restricted donations, residual quasi-endowment payout carried forward from the previous fiscal years. So the transfer that we're asking for is slightly less than the full amount of the cash needs because we've got some carryover. At 1.64% quasi-endowment payout, which does need to be expressed the way the investment policy statement is written as a percent, provides a payout of about $352,000, which is just above the amount we need for the year. We'll be a little bit over. So that's how we got that number, and the investment committee did pass a resolution recommending that the board follow this same practice and set the quasi-endowment payout rate for the next fiscal year at 1.64%. To understand the transfer from the strategic pool, it's important to remember the rationale behind creating the 3 accounts originally. Based on the results of the first community listening campaign, the board decided to designate about $55 million of the restitution funds to establish the strategic pool to be spent outright on strategic initiatives, including at least one major facility project, which ended up being the REC. The liquidity pool was created to serve as basically the holding account for expenditures planned in the next 0 to 24 months. Its purpose is to mirror the foundation's operating accounts, and it may be funded by both the quasi-endowment and the strategic pool. The investment goal for the liquidity pool is to preserve the capital because that's money we've committed to spend and we know we're going to spend it in the near future. So we want to take it out of sort of the higher risk of being in the strategic pool, which is a little more subject to the ups and downs of the market. So capital preservation and liquidity are the primary objectives of the liquidity pool. So for the past few years, the main driver behind the transfers from the strategic pool was the remaining set of RAC grant payments. But this year, we have already transferred all of those funds over in previous fiscal years. So all of the So of the, remaining liquidity pool balance at the end of the fiscal year, there will be about, just under $600,000 earmarked for the remaining grant funds. And we need no further, transfers from strategic to liquidity for the, construction of the RAC. It's all been moved over. So this year, the entire strategic payout will be used on cash needs for other strategic grants and for our operating expenses. We expect to pay out, as you can see, the RAC grants, it's already been accounted for. Our Centennial Plaza improvement grant, there's still about $377,000 that will need to be paid out next year. The downtown beautification grant should be fully paid out next year as well. And then we're putting our placeholder, actually that's, I believe, a typo. It should be 2.5 million, sorry about that. Of other potential strategic grants. So that gets us a total in our other grants of $10,000. So that gets us our program needs of 3.8 million. We also expect to be paying out all of our operating costs in the coming year, so that includes all of our needs there. So that leaves us with total strategic cash needs of just under 4.3 million. There's a carry forward from previous years' transfers of about 1.4 million. We always include about a buffer of $100,000 just to give us some wiggle room, which results in a strategic payout of a little over $3 million this year. So that's how we came up with that number, which will give us the cash we need to pay our bills next year. So that is our budget, again, structured very similarly to past years. There is a resolution before the board that does the following things. It approves our budget for fiscal year 24-25. It approves the quasi-endowment payout rate of 1.64%. It approves the transfer from the strategic pool to the liquidity pool of about $3 million to cover our cash needs. And it also then directs myself as executive director to submit our budget to the city council for approval as required by our bylaws. Right now, the budget presentation is scheduled for the city council's June 11th meeting. That will be just informational. Then the city council will actually consider approving the budget as part of the consent calendar at its June 25th meeting. They've set a precedent of doing it in that two-step process the last several years, so we're just following that process again. The resolution also allows, in terms of the transfers, it gives me the flexibility to break out, it gives me the discretion and flexibility to break out those transfers into smaller amounts based on when we actually need the money, and to potentially transfer less than the budgeted amount if we don't need those full amounts. So that's what the resolution will do. Again, the transfer amounts are ceilings. If we don't need to transfer the funds, we won't, and historically we haven't done the full amounts. But we want to have the flexibility to be able to do that if the full amounts are needed next year. So that is the budget.
Okay. Thank you, Leslie. Are there any questions from the board, comments in regards to our budget? Are there any questions from the public or comments regarding the budget? There's no one online? No one online, okay. Unless there are no further comments from the board, may I call for a motion to adopt resolution A, approving fiscal year 2024-2025 budget. B, setting the quasi-endowment payout rate for fiscal year 24-25. C, approving transfer from the strategic pool investment account to the liquidity account for fiscal year 24-25. And D, directing the executive director to submit the fiscal year 24-25 budget to the San Bruno City Council for consideration and approval.
So moved.
Second.
Great, thank you so much. Secretary Gomez, for roll call, please.
Sure thing. Board Member Belinda Wong,
Aye.
Board Member Irving Torres,
Aye.
Board Member Supriya Perry,
Aye.
Treasurer Pac Lin,
Aye.
Secretary Raul Gomez is an aye. Vice President Jim Ruane,
Aye.
President Melissa Natani Jones,
Aye.
all ayes.
Thank you. We'll move to item number 9, board member comments. Would any board member like to make a comment? No? The only comment I wanted to add was just that I, again, wanted to just underscore the work of those who are on the panels for the scholarships for 24-25, and just want to acknowledge, the hard work and time it took for them to be able to do that, participate in that process.
I think Leslie should get a new laptop.
Please. Okay, there are no other questions or comments from the board, anything from the public? Okay, if there are no further comments from the board, then that concludes this agenda item. And number 10, our favorite is to adjourn. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? So moved.
Second.
Okay, awesome. No need to call for vote. We are adjourned. Our next regular meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, July 3rd, 2024 at 7 p.m. But if we have no pressing business to conduct, we will cancel the meeting. The next meeting after that is scheduled for Wednesday, August 7th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Thank you all.